This video is about the famous people and celebrities who passed away in 1979. This is the second episode. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Dolores Costello. She was born in September 1933 and she died in March 1979. Her age was 75 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was emphysema. Dolores Costello was an American actress who achieved her greatest success during the era of silent movies. She was nicknamed the Goddess of Silent Screen by her first husband, the actor John Barrymore. She was the mother of John Drew Barrymore and grandmother of actress and talk show host Drew Barrymore. The two sisters appeared on Broadway together as chorus line dancers, and their success resulted in contacts with Warner Brothers Pictures. In 1926, following small parts in feature films, Dolores Costello was selected by John Barrymore to star with him in The Sea Beast, a loose adaptation of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, after which Warner Brothers soon began starring her in her own vehicles. Meanwhile, she and Barrymore became involved romantically and married in 1928. Within a few years of achieving stardom, Costello had become a film personality in her own right. As young as adult, her career developed to the degree that in 1926 she was named as WAMPA's Baby Star and had acquired the nickname the Goddess of the Silver Screen. Ted Cassidy. He was born in July 1932 and he died in January 1979. His age was 46 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was complications from surgery. Ted Cassidy was an American actor. He tended to play unusual characters in offbeat or science fiction works such as Star Trek and I Dream of Jeannie, and he played Lurch on the Addams Family television series in the mid-1960s. He also narrated the intro sequence for the 1977 live-action The Incredible Hulk television series and provided the growls and roars for the Hulk for the series' first 2 seasons before his untimely passing, with actor Charles Napier providing the title character's vocals for the remainder of the series. Cassidy's height gave him an advantage in auditioning for unusual character roles. His best-known role is Lurch on The Addams Family, in which he feigned playing the harpsichord, although he was in fact an accomplished organist. With a separate contract, he also played the character named Thing, though the associate producer Jack Vogelin took on the role in scenes involving both characters. Though the character of Lurch was originally intended to be mute, Cassidy's ad-libbed "Urag" in response to the butler's call was an immediate hit. It became his signature line, and he was given more lines. Several episodes were written to feature Lurch. William Gargan. He was born in July 1905 and he died in February 1979. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. William Gargan was an American film, television, and radio actor. He was the 5th recipient of the Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award in 1967, and in 1941 was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Joe in They Knew What They Wanted. He acted in decades of movies, including parts in Follow the Leader, Rain Night Flight, 3 Sons, Isle of Destiny, and many others. The role he was best known for was the private detective Martin Kane in the 1949 to 1952 radio television series Martin Kane, Private Eye. In television, he was also in 39 episodes of The New Adventures of Martin Kane. Gargan's first film was Rain. Later, he played in Miss Leading Lady and had character roles in many Hollywood productions, including starring in 3 films as Detective Ellery Queen. He was cast in a number of stereotypical Irish parts in films, playing policemen, priests, reporters, and blustering adventurers. In 1945, he played Joe Gallagher in The Bells of St. Mary's, starring Bing Crosby and Ingrid Bergman. In 1935, Gargan went to England and made several films. In 1940, Gargan was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Joe, the foreman, in They Knew What They Wanted. Nelson Rockefeller. He was born in July 1908 and he died in January 1979. His age was 70 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Nelson Rockefeller was the 41st Vice President of the United States, serving from 1974 to 1977 under President Gerald Ford. He had previously served as the 49th Governor of New York from 1959 to 1973, the state's longest-serving governor since the end of the Revolutionary War. Rockefeller was a member of the Republican Party and the wealthy Rockefeller family. Rockefeller served as Assistant Secretary of State for American Republic Affairs for President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman, as well as Under-Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare under Dwight D. Eisenhower from 1953 to 1954. A son of John D. Rockefeller Jr. and A.B. Eldridge Rockefeller, as well as a grandson of Standard Oil co-founder John D. Rockefeller. He was a noted art collector and served as an administrator of Rockefeller Center in New York City. Rockefeller was often considered to be liberal, progressive, and moderate in an agreement that was termed the Treaty of Fifth Avenue. He persuaded Richard Nixon to alter the Republican Party platform just before the 1960 Republican National Convention. In his time, liberals in the Republican Party were called Rockefeller Republicans. Sid Vicious. He was born in May 1957 and he died in February 1979. His age was 21 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was overdose. Sid Vicious was an English musician best known as the second bassist for the punk rock band Sex Pistols. Despite dying in 1979 at the age of 21, he remains an icon for the punk subculture. One of his friends noted that he embodied everything in punk that was dark, decadent, and nihilistic. In 1976, Vicious co-founded as vocalist and saxophone player The Flowers of Romance along with Clash co-founder guitarist Keith Levine, Viv Albertine, and Palmolive, who would both go on to become the guitarist and the first drummer of the Slits respectively, and Caddy Morris, future drummer of Susie and the Banshees, who would replace Palmolive, who got kicked out of the band by Vicious after rejecting his advances. During this time, he learned to play bass by listening to the first Ramones album Ramones, fixating on the up-tempo bump and grain pattern of the song I Don't Wanna Go Down to the Basement, a pattern he would apply to most of his playing from then on. Alan Tate. He was born in November 1899 and he died in February 1979. His age was 79 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Alan Tate was an American poet, essayist, social commentator, and poet laureate from 1943 to 1944. Among his best works are the poems Ode to the Confederate Dead in 1928 and The Mediterranean in 1933, and his only novel, The Fathers, in 1938. He is associated with the New Criticism, The Fugitives, and the Southern Agrarians. Tate entered Vanderbilt University in 1918. He was first undergraduate to be invited to join a group of men who met regularly to read and discuss their poetry. They included John Crow, Ransom, and Donald Davidson. On the faculty, James M. Frank, a prominent Nashville businessman who hosted the meetings, and Sidney Mitron Hirsch, a mystic and playwright who presided. Tate graduated Vanderbilt in 1922 with a B.A. magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa. In 1922, the group began publishing a poetry magazine named The Fugitive, so the group was known as the Fugitives. The aim of the group, according to the critic J.A. Bryant, was to demonstrate that a group of Southerners could produce important work in the medium, devoid of sentimentality and carefully crafted, and they wrote in the formalist tradition that valued the skillful use of meter and rhyme. Charles W. Morris. He was born in May 1901 and he died in January 1979. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Charles W. Morris was a leading semiotician and philosopher known for his contributions to the study of science and symbols in human behavior. After his graduation, Morris turned to teaching, first at Rice University and later at the University of Chicago. In 1958, he became research professor at the University of Florida. His students included semiotician Thomas A. Sebeok. In 1937, Morris presided over the Western Division of the American Philosophical Association and was Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Morris was an instructor of philosophy for 6 years from 1925 to 1931 at Rice University in Houston, Texas. After leaving Rice, he was Associate Professor of Philosophy at the University of Chicago from 1931 to 1947. Morris became lecturing professor at Chicago in 1948, occupying the position until 1958 when he received an offer for a special appointment as a research professor at the University of Florida, where he remained until his death. Charles William Morris died on January 15, 1979 in Gainesville, Florida. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.